Gun violence, of course, often in the news in the United States, with each mass shooting leading to calls for some sort of change. On Christmas Day, that message will come from an unusual source, the National Basketball Association.
I heard about a shooting involving a 3-year-old girl over the summer. My daughter Riley is that age.
There was a point when I felt that I was going to die.
My parents used to always say a bullet doesn't have a name on it.
Someone put a bullet in the back of my 14-year-old son's head.
The gun should never be an option.
We're Americans. We don't have to live like this.
We can all make a difference.
That's just a sampling from an ad that will run during the NBA's games on television tomorrow, Christmas Day. Teresa Tang is on this story for us tonight. Teresa.
Well, this has never happened before. The NBA athletes have never associated themselves with a political issue of this nature. In the past, they have partnered with groups like the Boys and Girls Club, with Habitat for Humanity, but this issue is different. And it appears as though NBA stars are trying to use their star power to become agents of change. Now, this ad, it's about 30 seconds long, and it's a public service announcement meant to spark a conversation around changes to guns and how it's used and gun violence in the country. And it really began with the iconic Hollywood film director Spike Lee. He is sitting on the board of an organization called Every Town for Gun Safety, which was founded by former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. And Lee reached out to ESPN with this idea for a public service announcement. ESPN then reached out to the NBA, and the commissioner was on board right away. So this spot features some of the highest profile athletes in the sport, including NBA MVP Steph Curry. And he speaks to the camera directly, speaking in very personal terms. Have a look.
Right in my backyard, right where Oracle Arena is, right where we play. There are countless, people that are affected, that they can't just go down the street to the corner store. They can't go with their families to the park. They can't do things for fear of their lives, and that's sad.
I could have been a victim, in those situations. I mean, I was there. I've seen it. Every day was somebody else getting killed, so you become immune to that. By the grace of God, it was just, I had other outlets, and basketball took me a different route. But now that I get older and I'm starting to, look back from the outside looking in, something got to give.
Interviews were also conducted with people who have experienced gun violence, family members of people who were killed, and the name Allison Parker may ring a bell. She was the reporter who was killed this summer in Virginia. She was reporting live on TV when she and a colleague were gunned down, and her parents spoke out as well.
It's awful. It's horrible what's happening, and yet until it directly affects your family, you don't start doing your homework and finding out what the laws are and how that it really just makes no sense. People say, well, Allison's killer passed a background check. So is that a reason to do nothing?
Anything. Yeah.
Is because it wouldn't have saved our daughter? Yeah. That's not a reason to do nothing, because somebody else's daughter is the next
And that's
one.
really it.
The ads will air 5 times tomorrow on Christmas Day, and the timing was very purposeful because there are a slew of games tomorrow, Ian. 5 games. The league knows millions of people will be watching, including young African-American males, and they are at the most risk of engaging in gun violence.
Well, I think it is so powerful with these NBA stars, many of whom come from the inner cities of the United States, who talk about, as we just heard in those excerpts, seeing stuff firsthand that you and I, for example, wouldn't see living our lives here in Canada for most of us and most of our experiences. So the NBA very bold to take this step, but very cautious in the precise details of this message. Yeah,
there is a bit of criticism around this because the group paying for the ad, Every Town for Gun Safety, it was founded by former Mayor Bloomberg, and it was founded as an answer to the NRA. But the NBA is saying this is not political at all. There is no use of the phrase gun control at all in any of the ads, neither on their website as well. And they say the purpose of this is to make communities safe for families and children. But critics out there are saying, okay, so what is the purpose of this? And they do believe that this is a way to threaten the Second Amendment. But Ian, again, they are saying, this is not political. And one tweet I want to share before I throw it back to you from President Obama, who is a huge supporter of this campaign, saying, I'm proud of the NBA for taking a stand against gun violence. Sympathy for victims isn't enough. Change requires all of us speaking up. And if you haven't seen the ad, you haven't because it hasn't aired yet, but you can see it online before tomorrow.
Thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome.